Sable is the weakest magician despite being at the strongest magic academy, ignored and humiliated by everyone. However, he suddenly awakens his hidden abilities and becomes a mana factory. Then he easily clapped everyone. One rainy, cold day, a boy named Sable was sitting in an alley, unable to remember anything about his life until a mysterious woman approached him and offered him to go with her to another world that suited him. 3 years later, Sable enrolled in the Royal Academy of Magic in the New World, specifically in the Kingdom of Wanyas. His classmates thought of him as a gloomy, mysterious, and eccentric person. Then they were surprised when they saw a summons to meet the headmistress on the wall and thought she was going to expel him because he had the worst grades in the academy. On his way to the principal's office, he found a blonde girl named Rue complaining in front of the office door and asking the principal to meet her, but to no avail. So Sable approached her and asked him to get out of her face because she is busy now. But when he told him that he was summoned by the principal, she found that he was the solution to her problem, as she would enter the principal's office with him to talk to her. Sable thinks and realizes that she wasn't summoned by the headmistress and tells her that he won't let her in so he doesn't get in trouble. Rue puts her axe to his neck to cause trouble and draw the headmistress's attention until they are interrupted by a large white wolf with a sword known as the third-rank servant, Hold'em. He managed to make her drop her weapon and told her to go back to wherever she came from because her appearance always brings trouble. Sable was curious about her weapon, and when they realized he was going to pick it up, they stopped him from touching it, and Hold'em kicked it away, causing it to shatter. Then the office door opened and the headmistress, Albus, appeared after hearing all the commotion outside her office. When she saw Rue, she wondered how she got into the academy in the first place. Then they all went in to meet Albus in her office, and Rue kept complaining in her annoying voice about the food served to her while Albus talked with Sable about putting him in a special field training program because she intends to improve his performance in a different environment than the academy. And he was surprised that he was not expelled despite being a loser and a scumbag. Albus then told him that there has been a 5-year war between the church and the witches, and that the witch hunts are still going on in the south. When she asked him why the witch hunts have ended inside the kingdom, he said it was because of the war that was started 10 years ago by Wizard 13 to end the oppression of witches and create a place for them in the world, which he believed. Albus told him that she had caused the death of that wizard after the war and his success in spreading magic in the world and changing the world's perception of witches, which is why she created the academy to oversee the spread and mastery of magic among the people. Then she added that she decided to found a magical village in the south and sent him for special training there, where magicians are treated as normal humans and not as an entity, and asked him to play the role of a magician there and warned him that all his memories related to magic and the academy would be sealed if he failed the 3-year training. Rue, who had stopped complaining, realized Albus's intention to expand her influence through him and decided to go with him to the village to spread her 300 years of experience in magic. But Albus told her that she had already hired a witch to accompany him and was surprised that Rue took care of her and pushed her out of the way. Albus was furious with her and accused her of being selfish and uncooperative, while Rue called her an exaggeration since she asked to be allowed to cooperate and see the Book of Spells of Zero, the first evidence of the existence of magic in the world. But Albus refused because it is a forbidden book that can destroy the world. Then it occurred to her to let Rue meet the author of the book in person, known as the Black Slime Witch, but she couldn't guarantee the details of the interview, although Rue was excited by the idea and agreed to arrange an interview with her. After that, Sable and Rue made their way to the village looking lost or homeless. She asked him if this was his first trip outside the kingdom. Then a girl with glowing hair named Holt joined them and told them that she would go with them to the witch's village, while a lizard named Cud approached them and arrogantly said that he was a veteran traveler and would not travel with them and decided to take 2 other disciples with him. He then asked why the worst student in the academy was accompanying them for special training. Sable simply told him that this was the reason he had come with them, and Cud advised him to turn around and withdraw from the training. When he left with the students, Holt described him as a fallen monster with bad behavior, while Sable saw that he was an honest person and found it reassuring for him. And when they were about to leave, Holt was surprised to see a mysterious person in the crowd, but he disappeared in a flash. After that, they all went to eat before starting their journey towards the village, and Holt was surprised that Rue's wand could eat like them. She told her that her wand is known as a witch eater, and when anyone touches it, it absorbs his magic and ends his life. Sable realized that this is why they forbade him to touch it, and when they wondered about Rue's ability to carry it without trouble, she told them that she made a contract with the wand to keep her alive even after her magic is absorbed, so that the two are considered one body and soul. As they began their journey to the village, Sable continued to suffer from motion sickness and vomit the entire way, while wondering what was happening to him since he was fine the last time he rode in a carriage, so they decided to take a break in the middle of the road so the motion sickness wouldn't kill him. In the evening, they camped in a cave, and when he saw Holt summon her magical power without having to cast a spell, Sable realized why she was famous for being the top student at the academy and thanked her for staying with him when he was sick. And when he told told her he thought she was a nice and smart person. She told him she wasn't that nice. She then told him that she is just a flexible person who only smiles because she believes that smiling will open up ways to impress people, and she believes that everyone who chooses to join the academy has different issues. When she asked him about his story, he told her that he doesn't remember anything before joining the academy. He doesn't remember if he took an entrance exam before becoming a student at the academy, and if he fails the training, he will be expelled and his memories of the academy will be erased. So he has no choice but to become a magician even though he can't master any kind of magic. When Rue joined them, he added that he is losing control of his spells, and when he suppresses them, he loses the ability to cast any other spells. Rue felt that Kud was right to ask him to withdraw, but Sable thought that maybe he could become a powerful wizard after 3 years of training. Rue told him that the path he intends to take may be more cruel than losing his memory, and that she thinks that forgetting everything and starting over is a logical choice in his case. Meanwhile, the mysterious figure that Holt had seen in the crowd in the morning was standing in front of a huge red tree and telling the being sitting atop it about the groups heading to the witch's village. The being decided to eliminate Kud first and vowed that there would be no peace between the church and the witches. He ordered the person to gather people and set traps for them. The next day, Sable's group resumed their journey. When they arrived at the inn, they met the students who had accompanied Kud on the journey and were complaining about him. They then approached Sable and told him that a group of thieves had attacked them yesterday and that Kud had managed to escape alone with the map in his possession. Rue was surprised that he managed to escape alone while they were unharmed and the thieves did not steal anything from them. When they told her that he called them overloaded and unworthy of protection because they could not use magic, Rue realized that they were witch hunters and that Kud had discovered them early, which is why he ran away and claimed to be the only wizard traveling from the academy so that they could escape. Sable remembered that Kud had told him before that he joined the academy to protect people and remembered helping him when he was being harassed, so Rue decided to go looking for him and considered it her fault for letting him travel separately from them and asked Sable and Holt to wait for her at the inn, but after she left, Holt thought to use the towel that Rue gave Sable when he vomited to track her because she refused to sit idly by. When she succeeds in locating her, they go after her after the witch hunters refuse to help them lest they get expelled for a fallen monster and are shocked to see Kud's tail severed in front of them. Holt thought to take his tail with them as proof of his presence and harm, but when she picked it up, Sable noticed that there were footprints of him, Rue, and the witch hunter, and then they realized that Kud chose to run away rather than fight even though he can use magic and the enemy is only one person. Holt felt the fear of the witch hunter chasing Kud and thought they should back off because he was probably a professional hunter from Dia Agnes, a death row organization hired by the church to hunt witches and would do anything to achieve their goal even if they had to spill innocent blood. Meanwhile, Kud was hiding in the trees to get out of sight of the hunters chasing him and hoping that the others had escaped safely when he noticed a rope tied to a tree branch, and soon the branch he was standing on broke and he found himself trapped by the trap set by the hunters. Holt told Sable that when she met a witch hunter as a child in a village, she found him burning the bodies of witches and threatened to burn her if she didn't prove to him that she wasn't a witch, so she ran away and realized that her friend in the village was dead. Then she tells Sable that if it was the headhunter who attacked Kud, they couldn't help him. Then they hear screaming in the distance and Sable decides to help Kud, telling Holt that she would have helped her friend if she knew she was still alive. Kud, on the other hand, was desperately trying to get away after evading the traps, but he tripped over a rope while walking and found the headhunter Triant standing in front of him, intending to get rid of him, so Kud decided not to try to attack him since his attacks didn't affect him. Then he used a spell to distract him and buy time to escape, but he was surprised by Triant's speed, which matched his own, and then he received a strong blow from him that caused him to hit a tree. When Triant approached him, he found that he had healed his foot injury from the trap and was curious to catch him alive and hand him over to the church as a guinea pig. When Kud hears him telling his followers to lock him in a cage, he remembers his painful past, having spent his childhood in a cage as a prisoner when he was owned by a circus owner who humiliated and tortured him for performances, and finds that he cannot protect himself after all this time as Triant pulls him by his severed tail towards the cage. Kud remembered Albus's words to him when he asked her to travel unaccompanied, and she told him that she would not abandon him as long as he was a student at her academy. He wondered if he would have survived if he had traveled with Sable's group, and when he tried to resist, Triant crushed his hands with a blow from his giant hammer. Just as Triant was about to crush his skull with his teeth, Kud was surprised by Rue's attack. She appeared out of nowhere and brought the power of her wand to bear on him, telling him that she knew he had been pardoned for the crimes he had committed when his organization was disbanded, and now he was working for the anti-magical party. Triant was surprised that she had Ludennis's staff in her hand. He felt angry and decided to attack her, but she dodged his blow and used the magic stored in her staff to cut down the trees around him and offered to withdraw from the fight in exchange for sparing his life. Then she was surprised when she heard Holt's voice voice calling her name from afar. Triant decided to take the opportunity to take them hostage. When he attacked them, Sable pushed Holt away to take all the damage on his own. Then Triant caught him and thanked them for coming at the right time, and Holt remembered that he was the same person she met as a child and caused the death of her friend. Triant then asked Rue to throw her wand for him to touch and make a deal with her in exchange for leaving Sable alive, and when she found that he was serious, she was forced to fulfill his terms, so Holt asked her to continue fighting and not listen to him, but she continued to follow his orders. Then Triant ordered Sable to bring him the staff and gave him his own sacred cloth so that he would not be affected by the staff's power. Sable wrapped the staff in the cloth, and then Holt ordered her to bind Rue, and when he found her reluctant, he ordered her not to continue acting further and revealed to them that she was a spy sent to the academy by the anti-magical party. Holt remembered her past and that she was nicknamed the daughter of the devil because she had horns growing on her head, but her mother always encouraged her and lifted her spirits, and when she was sent to the church, they cut off her horns because they were proof of the defilement of her soul, and she became praying to God and asking him not to hate her anymore. And over time, she became a servant in the church and was sent to the academy to become a spy for the church. Holt was able to become very popular in a short time among the students due to her skills and high grades, and everyone expected her to have a bright future after graduation. Then Albus told her that she would be recruited into the wizard army after graduation in order to serve the kingdom, and she felt the desire to become a witch, but she hesitated to reveal her secret to Albus until she was chosen to undergo the special training program with Sable. When she remembered the moment she saw the witch hunter in the crowd, she was afraid that she would have to betray everyone if she had to, which is why she poisoned the food to disrupt the travel schedule. But unfortunately, Sable accidentally ate a piece of her food, which poisoned him, and the plan kinda worked, and she thought that the Cud group would be fine if they were attacked by the hunters first, but it turned out to be more difficult than she imagined with the tyrant Triant, and she ended up as a traitor and everyone's lives were in danger. Holt was surprised by Sable's reaction after hearing her confession, saying that it wasn't her fault and found him smiling as if nothing happened, which made her feel even more guilty because he was supposed to be angry at her deception. So she decided not to run away and used Cud's tail to perform a magical attack on Triant, but he realized the situation and took the sacred cloth from Sable to block her attack and then approached her to finish her off. In the meantime, Sable was looking at Rue's wand, and when he approached it, he found her calling him and asking him to use it. Despite her attempt to prevent him from touching the wand, Sable picked it up, and the magical power inside the wand interacted with him and spread around everyone, forming a huge barrier, and over time, Sable lost consciousness after the power took over. After a while, he regained consciousness and found Holt near him and was surprised to find that they were all alive, and Rue scolded him for using her wand and that it was suicide, and she kept complaining about them, calling them frivolous, and even scolded her wand to Ludens. After that, Sable wondered how he was still alive after using the wand and surprised everyone when she told him that his magic exceeded the absorption capacity of the wand, which means that he has infinite magic power, which is why he cannot control spells. Then she ordered Kud to accompany them during their trip to the village, and he thought about tying his tail back into place again, but he was shocked when Holt told him that she had to use it to cast the magic spell against Triant. In the evening, Sable felt restless and sat alone and absent-minded until Holt interrupted his thoughts and sat next to him. She asked him if he had doubts that she deliberately lured him to Triant, and told him that she felt that Cud and Rue were suspicious of her. She then took off her hat and had Sable place his hand over her severed horn and told him that she had previously been nicknamed the daughter of the captain because of her horns, but after studying fallen monsters at the academy, she thought she might be one of them, as a fallen monster is the result of a witch giving the soul of a monster to a warrior seeking power. Then she told him that she felt relieved when she found that he didn't speak badly about Cud being a fallen monster. Then she approached him and surprised him with a quick kiss on his cheek and decided to go back to her room to go to sleep, and when she left, he was surprised that Rue appeared in front of him and that she was listening to their conversation the whole time and kept making fun of him for feeling nervous when Holt kissed him. The next day, the students who were with Cud were arrested and sent back to the academy for colluding with the church. Rue decided that the four of them would continue the journey to the village unaccompanied and asked Kud to use healing magic to heal his hands. He felt angry that she was simply saying that and told her that healing magic consumes too much of his energy and he would not be able to withstand it. So she thought they could use the amount of magical energy in Sable's body to help heal Cud's limbs, and when Rue asked which of them was better at using healing magic, Sable told her that Cud was the most suitable for that, and when he told him that his specialty was hunting and predation, he told him that he had heard people make fun of him in the past for his poor level of hunting. Then Rue told them that the best way to transfer magic between their bodies is by touching a mucous membrane to feel the blood vessels, such as kissing, and Sable and Cud were shocked that they might have to kiss each other to give him the necessary energy. Then Rue decided to act as a mediator between them to control the amount of magic flow so that Kud wouldn't die, and Sable remembered bits and pieces of his past that he couldn't focus on any longer. Then Rue stood between them, and and magic began to pass from Sable's body to Kood through her in front of everyone, and Kood wondered if anyone else was as embarrassed as he was about casting spells in public, and Sable agreed. But they had to cast spells to heal Kood's limbs and reshape them, and when it worked, everyone applauded them, and then they started celebrating and dancing at Rue's request. She told them that there is a group of people who love magicians and welcome them among them, and after having been persecuted and humiliated before, it was time to enjoy some praise. After that, they continued their journey until they reached a nearby city, which Sable saw that it resembled a large city like the kingdom of Wenyas. Then he was surprised by a carriage that suddenly blocked his path, and when he avoided it, he found himself covered with mud and did not last a minute inside the city, so Rue suggested that he go to bathe in the inn. Sable then went with Kood to bathe at the spa, and then he was curious to ask Kood why he wanted to become a magician, and he told him that he wanted to join the army of the church and wizards, and began to tell him about the history of the army and that they used to hate fallen monsters in the past before a peace agreement was made between the wizards and the church, and the name of the army was changed and a unit for fallen monsters was added to the army. When Sable asked him why he wanted to join the army, he told him that a knight rescued him 6 years ago when a crazy witch appeared and vowed to destroy the world and wreak havoc in the north. He was still locked in a cage and abandoned in the rubble as a worthless fallen beast, but that knight rescued him and is known as the Dragon Conquering King, and since then he has aspired to become like him. Then he asked Sable the same question, and when he was about to tell him his story, their conversation was interrupted by Rue's entrance and her desire to take a bath with them. When Kood refused and called her a pervert, she told him that mixed bathing was normal 100 years ago, as she is 300 years old and has lived through a lot. When they decided to get out of the bathroom, they were surprised to see Holt outside without clothes, so Kood automatically gave her his towel and realized that he had grabbed Sable's towel, who became completely naked in front of her, which prompted her to run away while Rue sat inside relaxing. After that, they continued their journey to the village safely, and Sable found that all the landlords knew Rue and were on good terms with her, and she would guide them to the best campsites during the breaks and taught them hunting methods for fun, and Sable felt a great security with Rue that he had not felt in all his 3 years in the academy. On their way, Kood wondered what Rue was going to do after her escort mission, and she said she was going to meet the Black Witch of Slime, author of the 0 spells, and she would be able to ask her all about magic and the book, as it would relieve her boredom since she had lived for 300 years with her wand and was tired of even breathing. Damn it, I never expected to live until the day I graduated from college. Then she remembered everything she'd been through in the past 300 years, and the only thing that gave her pleasure was events in the world like new experiments or the threat of annihilation, and she felt happy when she saw a horde of demons crushing humans. Then she added that she had recently realized that it was fun to spend time with people, and she was sure of that after she accompanied them on this trip. Then her conversation was interrupted by a young boy who ran towards them and told them not to stop in that area. Then he pulled Rue and told them to run away quickly, and they found themselves running away with him from the unknown until they reached the bottom of a tree, and the boy told them to hide inside it. Then the boy used his magic to close the gap in the tree so that the thing would not find them, and Rue marveled at his ability to use magic, and they remained hidden inside the tree until they heard the voice of someone looking for him and threatening him that he would crush his friends if he did not show himself. Then it turned out to be a fallen monster in the form of a white tiger, and when he approached the tree he could hear a heartbeat nearby, and then he surprised them by attacking the barrier and breaking it. The boy fell from the tree after the barrier was broken and everyone followed him outside. They decided to confront him using magic and using Sable's abundant energy. The fallen monster realized that they were the students who were going through field training and told them that he would finish them off before one of them finished reciting his spell. Before he could finish his sentence, Rue appeared behind him to attack him, but he blocked her just in time. Then she told the others to run away while she took care of him. The monster decided not to chase them, and at the same time not to confront Rue, because he knew how strong she was, and when she told him she wouldn't let him get away, he told her that someone else would take over if she got rid of him, and that he was tasked with bringing the boy back to the village. Rue became suspicious when she realized that he knew about her wand, and told her that her companions had escaped towards the village and asked her to follow them and that they would meet again soon. Meanwhile, the young boy returned to the village and went to the priest, who called him Laos, and Laos told him that he was saved by a group of magicians, and then they found that he was a blindfolded priest and he was able to recognize their number despite that and know that they followed the field training. The priest named Shinpu told them that he actually had a grudge against the mages for a long time, and when he learned about their encounter with a fallen monster on the road, he told them to leave. He told them that the monster was a guardian to reinforce the witch's control over the village village, and that the control of the village had changed 2 years ago after the controlling witch handed the village over to an invader without a fight and disappeared. Sable analyzed the situation and realized that they were all a burden on the academy, so they were sent to the village to get rid of them indirectly. Hood suggested that the army confront the new witch and get rid of her, but Shinpu told them that confronting a powerful witch would cause the loss of 1,000 soldiers, and they are known as the Knights of the Church around here and would not care about the troubles of a witch's village. Ru interrupted their conversation and told them that Shinpu seemed suspicious to her. She wondered if there was any proof that he didn't cooperate with the fallen monster that attacked them in the forest, since the monster already knew about the field training. He asked her if she wanted to eliminate him since she was sure of her suspicions, and she told him that she preferred to check carefully before making a move, and asked him to show them around the village if he wanted to prove that he wasn't an enemy. When his father, Urus, saw the students, he told them that they were the ones who had protected his son and saved him from the monster, and that they suspected him of being in cahoots with the witch who ruled the village. Urus and Laios then took them on a tour of the village. Laios told them that he was the only child born in the village, and when he was born, the former witch cast a spell on him so that everyone would love him, and thanks to her, he had the ability to use magic. Ru noticed that the place was very quiet, and when they reached Uru's house, they were surprised to find bodies hanging outside the house as if someone had executed them. But Urus told them that they were just dolls to discourage people from trying to escape the village, and that life in the gods' village is not bad if they follow the rules. After they entered the house and Urus and Laios left, everyone was surprised by Ru's decision to get rid of the witch and kill Albus as soon as they returned to the kingdom as punishment for her betrayal, and vowed to teach her a lesson before she took her soul. Holt thought that if they returned to the kingdom, the church army and wizards might be able to help them, but Sable felt that it would turn the village into a battlefield and cause chaos, and concluded that if the witch let them in, she had no intention of harming them and they would be able to use magic without limits thanks to him. Cud grabbed his collar and told him that they had no chance against the witch and her fallen monster assistant if they had to fight her. He told him that if they did nothing, they would be expelled from the academy and their memories would be erased. He said he realized when he touched Ru's wand that he wasn't afraid to die. He then offered Cud and Holt to leave the village if they didn't want to take the risk. Holt felt sad and started crying, then rushed out after telling him she didn't want to see him dead. When he wanted to follow her to apologize, Ru told him that it would be a worthless apology because he didn't know his mistake. Then she told him that his low self-esteem can sometimes hurt others, and because they are friends, Holt doesn't want her friend to die like a stray dog. He felt that he didn't want her to die either and decided to go and apologize to her. At that time, Holt went to the church and met a young girl named Lily, the church's cleaning lady, and was surprised that she was wearing a hoodie even though there was no rain. So Lily said that she should keep a low profile, but what made her appear was when she heard Holt crying. Holt gets nervous and tells her it's just a fight with a friend. Lily tells her that Shinpu always says it's okay to follow the church wizard. On the other side, Ru and Kud sit down to discuss their chances of fighting against the witch and her assistant. Ru told him that she only lives for fun and that her current entertainment is the three of them, since she's been assigned to accompany them in field training and won't allow her students to get hurt, and that she's ready to die if she has to. Holt tells Lily that she was comforting her when she heard her crying and asked him not to scold her. He tells her that she's in no position to worry about others, and Holt is surprised to learn that his hearing is so acute that he heard her fight with Sable from where he was standing. She then realized that Sable didn't understand her anger towards him and that she should have talked to him more to explain why she was upset with him. When she decided to go back to her companions, Shinpu stopped her from leaving, and that's when she noticed the logo on his cane that symbolizes the Dia Agnes organization. Shinpu told Holt that he knew about her betrayal of the church after she attended the academy for 4 years. Holt felt restrained and unable to move, and when she screamed for help, he put the blade of his cane around her neck and threatened her. Sable returned to the others and told them that he couldn't find Holt, so Ru decided to head outside to track her magic. They were surprised to find that she was walking down the path leading to a cave in the forest, and when they entered, they found traces of blood in their path. Ru said she sent someone else with Holt inside the cave. Cud felt it might be a trap and advised them to back off, but Ru was excited by the idea that the village ruler might have kidnapped Holt and then used her wand abilities to scout for traps. When she found Cud feeling fearful of their fight with the witch and unsure of their ability to win, she told him that the Dragon Conqueror King had once won a hopeless battle against his dragon and ended up becoming master of his dragon, choosing to become either a brave soldier or a cowardly civilian. Cud said that he is not as strong as the Dragon Conqueror and it is not courageous to rush towards certain death. Then he left them and turned back, not caring about his fate inside the academy, and when he came out of the cave, he was surprised by the presence of the giant guardian monster who offered him to join him after realizing that he abandoned them of his own free will and tried to lure him by letting him learn magic. Cud was negotiating with the guard about learning magic, and the guard told him that he could help him join the army even if he was expelled from the academy, and offered to make a blood magic deal if he accepted his terms. And that's when Cud remembered the blood trail he saw at the entrance to the cave. When he asked the guard where Holt was, he was shocked when the guard told him that he got rid of her and ate her, and then he started to get angry and change color like Renekton in League of Legends when he uses his maximum strength, and decided to take revenge on the guard who welcomed a fight against him to test his abilities. Meanwhile, Sable and Rue continue their way into the cave. She tells him that he's interesting as a student who can't use magic but has unlimited energy in his body. When she says that he's a requirement for all mages, including the village ruler, Sable remembers glimpses of his dark past. Rue tells him that he has the choice to run away and turn back, but he insists on continuing to save his friend, and she's surprised when he says he would have wanted to save her if she were in Holt's place. Suddenly, Sable found Roots tying him up and dragging him deep into the cave. When Rue caught up with him, she found the Roots pulling her wand away from her. Shinpu appeared out of nowhere and gave her a good kick. Before he closed the door to the passageway, he told her that she should have gotten rid of him as soon as she suspected him. When Sable saw the witch, he remembered the woman he met 3 years ago and offered to go to another world with her and join the academy. Then she extended her hand to him and told him that she had been waiting for him all this time. When he asked her who she was, Rue told him not to go along with her as she sees magic in her eyes and may be able to enchant him. The witch then attacked Rue without touching her and pushed her away to make her unconscious, and then called her a protester since she can't use magic and calls herself a witch. Then she told Sable that he was more special than all the students around him, and when she threw Holt's hat in front of him, he found traces of blood on it, and she told him that she had given it to the guardian monster in exchange for retrieving it from Albus, and that she had arranged for him to come to the village. Sable felt that everyone had been hurt because of him and held himself responsible. He then remembered small scenes from his past when he held Rue in his arms, and the witch offered him to join her and she would guide him in the right direction and protect him, telling him that she would take him to a world worthy of him. Sable found that she was wrong about his companions and remembered how they treated him and what they did for him, and realized that the only memory he wanted to erase was that of the witch. He told her that she was not worthy to join her, thinking about saving Rue in any way he could. When he decides to pour all his magical energy into a bowl to save her, Rue approaches him and kisses him before he finishes casting the spell, absorbing much of his boundless magical energy, and Rue feels the magic flowing through her body. The witch told her that even though she had stolen Sable's magical energy, she could not defeat her as she would cast her magic before she could complete any spell. Rue accepted the challenge and used fire magic and combined it with her abilities to launch an overwhelming attack on the witch, who was able to block her attack with ease. Then she told Rue that the spell she had cast was actually hers, and told her that she was Witch Zero, the creator of magic and the author of the Forbidden Spellbook. Sable realized why Albus had agreed for Rue to meet her because they had no chance against her. Then Zero cancelled her ability and turned her into dust in the air and approached Sable and told him that she would supervise his field training from now on. Rue was excited to meet Zero, her muse, and grateful that she hadn't lived for 300 years in a vacuum. And when she found Sable distracted and unaware of what was happening around him, she slapped him and told him that it was all a test and that he had passed. Holt runs up to him, hugs him and congratulates him on passing the exam, and is relieved when he realizes she's okay. She then tells him that if he had agreed to join Zero, he would have been expelled and that they were all being tested, as Shinpu the priest had tested her and offered her to work as a spy for the anti-magic party. But when she spat in his face, she realized she had passed the test. Shinpu approached them and gave Rue her wand back. When he asked her if she realized it was an exam from the beginning, she told him that she found out because of the dolls hanging on the house they entered, and that the kitchen had tea and water in it, and there was no sign that it had been abandoned for a long time. Zero felt frustrated because she wanted to relieve them of the fatigue of traveling with her tea mixture, but they found out about the exam through her. Then Cud joined them with the guardian monster after he managed to pass his test as well, and the three of them were able to prove their loyalty. But Cud was still angry that the monster claimed to have eaten Holt and told him to direct his complaints to Shinpu, who told him to say so. Then Zero apologized to Rue for insulting her and told her that it was part of the exam. In the evening, Albus received a letter from Zero, and when she learned that her students had passed, she screamed with excitement, and Hold'em rushed in and wondered that 3 students had passed the test at once, as no one had passed last year. She told him that she was puzzled when she heard that Triant had attacked them on their way to the village, but that the attack seemed to have strengthened their bond. She decided to offer him a reward for her help, and ordered Holdem to publicize Trian's capture alive throughout the kingdom. Meanwhile, Sable and his companions were celebrating their success in the exam, and Cud was surprised that the tavern was full of people, as the village was empty all the time. Zero told them that they were assigned to stay at home until the end of the exam, so as not to cause any disruption in the events. Then she congratulated them on passing the exam, even though they had done their best to get them expelled. When Holt asked her why the academy wanted to expel them, they were surprised that it was because they were highly talented, since if a special magician deviated and chose the path of evil, it could lead to the destruction of the world, and the purpose of the test is to find out whether students with special abilities are good or evil. Holt thought she was exaggerating their power, but Zero told her that her power alone is equivalent to that of a moon summoner, the headmistress of Albus Academy, and in 10 years she should have the power to defeat thousands of armies alone. She told Cud that he could write his name in history and become an immortal wizard if he continued to develop his protective magic. As for Sable, he may be the longest surviving magician after hundreds of years, which means he has plenty of time to develop his abilities continuously for longer than any magician, and over time, no one will be able to stand in front of his power. While Sable felt fear of his power in the future, then she told them that if they neglect their training and get lazy, they will be just useless scum and do not deserve the power that has been given to them. She then added that the training program would consist of them owning their own stores so that it would be easier for the villagers to ask for their help, and that she herself ran a worthless store in an alley and gave them 3 days to think about what kind of store each of them wanted to own. After that, they sat down to dinner with the others and were surprised when the guardian monster told them that Shinpu was originally one of the leaders of the Dia Agnes organization before it was disbanded, and that he could see. Holt was curious and asked him why he wore an eye patch, and he told her that the light hurt his eyes and he took it off at night. And when she asked him about Lily, he said that she was actually a 20-year-old girl, but an introvert and a coward who didn't like crowds. After the party was over, the three of them kept thinking about what kind of shops they would own in the village. Suddenly, Cud noticed a huge dragon flying in the sky and someone riding it. They realized it was the Dragon Conqueror King. Cud followed him until he reached his landing destination and was able to see him up close and was surprised that he knew their names personally. When they approached him, he gave them letters from the academy, and when Sable read his letter, he found that they had been appointed as mages within the village and all restrictions on their magic had been lifted. He wondered if they had the power to use all the magic even though they had not graduated yet. The Dragon Conqueror told him that this is like a license to engage in battles. Then Cud approached him and tried to remind him of himself and told him that he had saved his life years ago, and the Dragon Conqueror could easily remember him, and that he had told him then that he wanted to join the army of the church and wizards, and when he told him that he would join his team. When he joined the army, his color glowed with excitement, and the Dragon Conqueror told him that he was looking forward to working with him. After that, they went to Zero's library, and when they met Rue there and told her about their meeting with the Dragon Conqueror, she was furious and started complaining like a child because she wanted to see his dragon up close. Then the three of them were sad when they realized that she would leave after her role as a companion ended, and she told them that she would leave after she finished reading all the Zero books, which means it would take 3 years. After the three students left, Rue sat down with Zero and told her that she knew about her problem, as she was suffering from a severe depletion of her magical energy, and that someone like Sable would be her savior. Zero decided to explain his condition to her as his teacher and told her that he was born with a strange ability and was attacked by a witch in the past who sought power and caused his mother to die before his eyes, but eventually perished due to the excessive flow of magic in her body. Sable ended up sealing all his memories and living all kinds of oppression as a slave, even forced to suppress his magical powers as if he was punishing himself for what happened to his family, until she met him and decided to give him a new life as a student at the academy without memories. But, because of his limitless magical energy, he loses control of his magic every now and then. Rue realized that she was trying to fire him for that reason and felt angry that she was controlling his life so much, so she told her that she is close to him and tries to guide him to the right and protect him because he is her nephew. And then Rue realized that Sable's father is Wizard 13, who stole her book to create a world ruled by wizards. 2 months after their arrival in the village, they became shopkeepers to help the villagers and used their special abilities to run the shop, and Sable became a magic shopkeeper who provided magic to those who needed it, and over time he got used to life in the village with his friends. But Rue is not convinced by his words, as he does not leave his store since he opened it 2 months ago because he is an introvert and avoids communicating with anyone. So how can he get used to the village when he does not leave his home? Sable justified this by saying that he is always in the store in case someone needs to use magic, in addition to helping Cud and Holt clean their clothes. She was furious and scolded him when he told her that he was doing it on his own and that he was cleaning the clothes of a girl his age, and warned him not to let anyone know about it, so that people would not see him as a pervert. She tried to convince him that Holt liked him and suggested he take her to the forest and just tell her she was cute, but he was taking her words too literally and seemed to have been single for so long that he didn't know anything about love, so she remembered what Zero had told her about him and consoled him. She asked him to pick some tea leaves for her from the forest because her tea was running out, and when he hesitated to leave the store, she was furious and scolded him that he couldn't make time for her like he did for his friends. He finally had to get out of the house and went to pick tea leaves. On his way back, he met Leos, and when he found Sable carrying a few tea leaves, he took him deep into the forest where tea leaves are abundant, but Sable felt that they had to turn back. Leos told him that he used to come here with his father and that he could go get the tea leaves himself. He ran away, and when Sable caught up with him, he found him sitting in a tree and told him that he was lying and that he didn't know the way back to the village. Sable told him that it was his fault for being so easily fooled and that Eurus would scold him as soon as they got back. Leos felt sorry for himself, and while Sable was trying to console him, he felt a mouse messing with his pants, and when Leos saw him, he thought they should follow the mouse so they could get back to the village, since mice are considered Lily's best friends. After that, they kept chasing the mice until they came out of the forest and arrived at the church, where Leos saw his mother, who yelled at him and carried him back home. Then Sable was surprised when Shinpu appeared behind him and offered him a break inside the church. After he entered, he found Lily peeking at them from behind the wall, so Shinpu asked her to take off her robe, but she refused to do so in order not to scare Sable, so Shinpu pulled it against her will, and Sable was surprised that it was a white mouse, and she kept trying to take the robe from Shinpu, but he refused to give it to her and asked her to prepare food for them. Lily hesitated to cook the food, fearing that it would make Sable feel disgusted about being a mouse, but he didn't mind, and when he asked if Shinpu could cook, she told him that his cooking was the worst ever. After that, he sat down for lunch with Shinpu, who told him that he was about to enter the bee zone in the forest with Leos, and that the forest is a dangerous place and children are not allowed to enter it, and advised him that he should educate himself about the dangers before entering any unknown place, at which point Lily joined them and told him that Shinpu has a bad temper and should not be discouraged by his words. Sable then said that he entered the forest mainly to pick tea leaves for Rue. Shinpu continued to scold him for going in search of tea leaves without thinking to ask any of the villagers where the tea leaves grow. He told him that they grow next to Zero's house and advised him to try to develop himself more or he will be locked inside his shop all the time. Sable left the church thinking about Shinpu's words until he met Holt on his way, and when she approached him, he found traces of blood on her clothes, and she told him that they were attacked by a wolf pack on their way to the forest and the guard protected her, but she accidentally hit him with her spell. When Lily rushed to her to ask her about the guardian, she told her that he was angry and asked her not to cast spells she couldn't finish, and she began to have thoughts that she shouldn't be a witch, and after she left with Lily, Rue found him nearby, telling him that someone needed his help with magic. Meanwhile, Zero was tending to the guard and trying to stop the bleeding when Rue and Sable joined her, and when he sat down next to her, Zero kissed him to borrow some of his magical energy and succeeded in healing the guard and stopping the bleeding. Sable then wondered if they were going to fire Holt, but was told there was no reason to fire her and that the ranger intended to work with her again. He remembered Leos, who had almost gotten him lost in the forest, and thought he would go see him and give them the tea leaves he had collected before he left. Afterward, Zero, Rue, and the guard sat drinking tea together, and Rue told them that she had asked him to bring her the tea leaves to give her a reason to come to Zero's house, since he spends all his time inside the store and doing chores alone, which has made him fall behind Holt and Cud. When the guard said that he was contributing enough by providing magic and helping everyone, and that there was no need for him to continue his studies, she was furious and told them that she wanted to see her students become great wizards who would turn the world upside down, and worried that Sable would quit learning magic and rely on his livelihood as a magic provider in the village. On the other hand, Albus instructed Hold'em to go to the village and check on the three students, while Rue chatted with Zero and marveled that she had borrowed a small amount of Sable's magic. She told her that if she asked him to give her all of his power, she would be taking advantage of him as an overseer, and that she couldn't guarantee that his magic would remain unlimited at all times. Meanwhile, Hold'em was on his way to the village with Triant after he managed to capture him and had some memories of that day when Wizard 13 attacked and annihilated their village and vowed to avenge Wizard 13 at any cost, while on the other side, Sable headed towards Leos's house, and when he met him, he asked him to go play in the forest tomorrow. In the evening, Cud woke up in his room not remembering how he got there, as the last thing he remembers is that he was in one of the shelters helping patients recover from a contagious disease that infected them all, and he remembered that he lost consciousness due to his excessive use of magic, and when he came down, he found Sable and Holt greeting him and telling him that the doctor he works for was the one who carried him on his back and brought him home. When Sable mentioned that Lily had prepared food for them, he realized that something was wrong with the guardian monster, so Holt had to tell him what happened, and when he started to criticize her, they kept fighting until Rue joined them, and then Sable told her that all of them had failed in their missions for the day, as he was lost in the forest with Laios. Sable told her that he was going to leave the house and open up to the village, and that he was going to ask Laios's parents for permission to go to the forest together again. Rue asked him to collect medicinal herbs from the forest and told them to go see Zero tomorrow. The next day, the three of them went to visit Zero, who gave them a set of books and told them that most books of this kind are kept in the Forbidden Library located in the north. Hud realized that she meant Fort Nidora and told them that it is not on the map because books forbidden by the church are kept there. Holt felt excited about it and thought that the three of them would go to Nidora one day. Hud rejected the idea as the north is still full of the remnants of the disaster that happened 6 years ago and they would die in a flash. Sable felt he didn't want to take the risk, but Holt was still excited about it and told them they would be fine with their abilities. Zero decided to teach her a special lesson and told her she wouldn't release her until she could undo her spells. After they left the room, Sable spotted a book on a shelf and wanted to borrow it to take a look at it. After that, Zero continued to train Holt in canceling spells and asked her to use a spell to light the candles in her house. When she thought she didn't have enough magic to do that, Zero surrounded her with her magical power, and after canceling it, she said that she had activated her spell in a way that wasn't in the books and advised her to try casting her spell in different ways. Then they were surprised by Zero's sudden fall after draining a lot of energy, and when Sable tried to transfer his magic to her, it didn't work. So she thought she might be hungry and decided to go get some food, but she almost fell again, so Sable took her in his arms and asked his companions to bring food from the Guardian Beast Tavern, and when Zero opened her eyes, she felt as if she was seeing her father. After he took her back to her room, he tried to transfer his magic to her again, but to no avail. She told him that in her natural state, she could take away all his magical power, so she is considered his enemy, and when he remembered that they have the same eye color, he asked her if she knew his mother. She told him that she is not related to his mother, but she knows his father. When he was about to ask about him, she asked him to bring the book he borrowed, and he told her that he needed a book on medicinal herbs since he was going to the forest, and she told him that the author's handwriting is bad since she struggled to decipher it, and that all magicians put tricks in their books to prevent others from using their knowledge, and that she failed to discover the tricks inside the book because the author deliberately put incomplete information in his book. Sable was surprised when she told him that his father wrote the book and told him that he had an incomparable talent and that since the book was easy for him to understand, he could easily discover its secrets. The guardian monster then joined them carrying a basket of food after learning of Zero's fall and thanked Sable for taking care of her until he came. He apologized for failing to give her some of his magical energy, and when the guardian was about to tell him the reason, Zero decided to tell him herself. After that, Sable went for a walk in the forest with Laios and kept checking the different plants, while Sable was thinking about what Zero had told him that there was nothing to learn in the village if he didn't want to become a magician, and gave him time to think about his fate. His thoughts were interrupted by the sound of Laios's voice after he found a dead animal nearby, and concluded that he had been attacked by a pack of wolves. They continued on their way until they came to a lake surrounded by red flowers, and Laios was happy that they had managed to find it on their own. Sable offered to accompany him every day during his training in magic, but their conversation was interrupted by the appearance of a strange, slimy creature with sharp teeth inside it, and began to attack them, and managed to hit Laios in his stomach, so Sable realized that he may have caused the death of the animal that they found by chance. Sable thought about using the healing magic, but he hesitated because he had never used it before, so he had to carry him until they reached a safe place despite being injured in several areas of his body, and Laios began to lose consciousness in his arms, and when he found him not moving, he began to blame himself for not using his time to train in the use of magic. Then he was surprised by the appearance of Rue's magic in front of him, and he heard her telling him that Laios was not dead yet and that he should keep moving, so he pulled himself together and continued walking, hoping to arrive before it was too late, and on his way he found Zero and the guardian monster approaching him, and he fell after he lost his strength and apologized for his failure again, but the guard told him that at least he succeeded in protecting Laios. Then Zero joined forces with Rue to take care of him after he lost a lot of blood. After they went to the clinic where Cud worked, he found that Rue had fainted after giving part of her her blood to Sable, while Zero had fainted after draining a large amount of her magic, and the three of them looked pathetic in front of him as Sable continued to cry the whole time. Meanwhile, Laios was outside telling everyone that he fought a mysterious monster with Sable until his father Urus returned, while Rue thought that this monster might be a remnant of the Northern Calamity, as she had seen a similar drawing in one of the forbidden books that disguises itself as a dead animal to lure its prey. Then Zero realized that someone had allowed this monster to cross from the north to the south, as the church army and magicians are supposed to deal with the remnants of the disaster, so the guard decided to go to visit Shinpu, and when he came out, he found Hold'em standing outside, so they went together to the church, where Hold'em told them that someone was hunting this kind of monster and selling it. Shinpu thought that someone wanted to spoil the peace treaty between the church and the magicians, and asked Lily to accompany him to investigate the matter, but she refused to leave the village so that she could protect her rat friends from the monster, so the guard decided to leave to the neighboring village with Shinpu to report what happened and leave the village temporarily under the protection of Hold'em until his return. Then he was surprised by Zero standing at the entrance to the church and said that she felt that he was planning to leave her, so Hold'em suggested that she accompany them on their trip to the neighboring village, and when everyone agreed to his proposal except for the guard, they all left on their way to the neighboring village, while Triant was watching the situation in the forest and found his opportunity to enter the village. At that time, Hold'em told the others that he was assigned to protect the village and its inhabitants until Shinpu, Zero, and the monster returned, but Rue felt that there was another reason behind his coming to search the village, coinciding with the appearance of one of the remnants of the disaster. He told her that he had nothing to do with the appearance of the remnants of the disaster in the village, then asked her to take care of her as the only witch that his former mistress relied on, and Rue remembered that she worked for a woman named Serena who died protecting everyone and asked her to protect the village, and when she asked him about the price for taking care of the remnants of the disaster, Hold'em told her that he would give her access to Zero's forbidden book of spells, which seemed like a good deal to her. Sable then told his companions that he had decided to become a powerful wizard like them, but that it would make him unable to do household chores properly, while Hold'em watched from the window after making a blood pact with Rue. Then Sable asked them to teach him to cast spells in exchange for magical energy. Then Hold'em joined them and asked them to direct him to a safe place to stay. When Holt offered to accompany him, he refused to go to a house alone with a girl, and they were suspicious that he was thinking about it in a perverted way. When they noticed Urus appearing behind them and asking to speak privately with Sable, Holt and Cud decided to escort Hold'em to his place of residence. When Sable and Urus were alone, Urus asked him not to approach Laos again after what happened yesterday, and Sable had no choice but to comply with his request. When Sable asked him if he would agree to accompany his son if he learned magic and became strong, Urus told him that he would teach him the basics of staying safe in the forest until then. After his departure, Sable was surprised by the appearance of Triant out of nowhere behind him and then strangled him until he lost consciousness. After some time, Sable woke up and found himself tied up and felt as if he was inside a fast-moving carriage. Then he remembered his mother's advice to him before her death, that he should not approach the witch who has the same color as his eyes because she will take everything away from him. After she closed the door of the hiding place on him, their house was attacked. Then he saw an evil witch break into their house with an axe and asked him to appear if he did not want his mother to die, and although she gestured for him to stay where he was, he decided to show himself, and then the witch took her life right in front of his eyes. Then she grabbed him and let her hand penetrate his body until she grabbed his heart to absorb his magic, but she began to feel great pain and found that he held her hand too tightly and his magic kept flowing towards her until it caused her body to collapse and melt. Sable regained consciousness when Triant slapped him to stop screaming and told him that he had orders to take him alive to someone, and then he found that they were being followed. On the other side, Holt and Cud were having trouble riding the horses and could not control or stop them until they fell off the top of the carriage in front of Triant, who wanted to have fun while he crushed them both. Meanwhile, Rue heads to the forest to check if there are any monsters hiding in it with her wand until she hears a sound near her, and when she goes towards the sound, she finds a person with bee stings all over his body. On the other side, cut off his tail and gave it to Holt so that she could defeat Triant as she did last time. He was surprised that she was able to attack him without casting a spell after he blocked her with his holy robe, but the spark of magical power caused Sable's ropes to burn and set him free. After that, Triant was surprised that Sable was standing behind him and grabbed his arm and told him not to move or he would kill him before he could do anything. At that time, Rue returned to the village carrying the injured person with her wand and was surprised to find Hold'em sleeping in the middle of the road next to Eurus. He woke up and told her that he was going with her students to a safe place to stay, but Urus suddenly appeared and told them that Sable had been kidnapped, and despite his attempts to prevent them from following him, Holt hypnotized them with her magic. When he realized that they were heading towards Triant, he felt he was in trouble. Rue realized that this was a trap he had set for her students and told her that the problem was that he had to use Triant to carry out the plan. Triant knocked Sable to the ground and crushed his hands with his weapon, then beat his comrades and told them that those who hesitate to fight always lose. And when he approached Sable, he was surprised by the thin strings that bound his limbs and caused his arm to be cut off, and he realized that Shinpu had not left the village all this time. Then Shinpu appeared and took off his blindfold when the moonlight disappeared and told him that he would capture him alive for interrogation and cut off his legs so that he could not resist. Zero and the guardian beast joined him and found that they arrived just in time before Shinpu took his life. When Rue and Hold'em reached them, they found that it was already over. Zero threatened to send his head to Albus if he didn't confess everything to them. He told them everything as soon as they got home, and that they had made a deal with Triant to bring at least one student back to the academy in exchange for sparing his life. They realized that this was not a test of the students, but a test of the village's ability to protect them. Zero admitted that the village's defenses were completely weak, and Shinpu told her that all they lacked was combat power to be able to protect their village and neighboring villages. Hold'em suggested that they take advantage of Triant's strength and recruit him. When Triant complained and tried to object, he was told to keep his mouth shut if he wanted to stay alive, and Zero realized that she had no choice but to cooperate with him. The next day, Holt expressed her strong objection to his joining them, as he had tried to destroy them more than once, and demanded his execution. But Zero told her that if she was thinking of taking revenge on him, it was her right, but she should remember that magicians are arrested to atone for their sins, which is the same thing they will do with Triant, as he was assigned to serve the village to atone for his sins. Then they all told her that they, like Triant, had caused many victims and deaths at their hands, and Holt felt that they all didn't deserve to die. Even though she couldn't trust someone like Triant, she seemed to suffer from a chronic double standard. After a long discussion with everyone, Holt decided to keep an eye on him herself, and requested that he be forced to stay at the Guardian Beast Tavern to be watched at all times, and if he makes any treasonous behavior, they will eliminate him immediately. So Rue congratulated her for making the right decision, despite the pain she feels by avoiding her feelings and letting Triant live among them. Afterward, Hold'em offered Rue to return with him to the kingdom, but she told him that she was busy taking care of her students. After he left, she went to Sable's house, and before she went inside, she heard his conversation with Holt from behind the door, telling her that he had regained his memories and felt frustrated that they were painful memories, even though she did not answer all his questions. Then he suddenly asked Holt what it's like to love someone and told her that Rue told him that Holt loved him, which made her blush until her face almost exploded. Then she told him that he would feel that he would want the other person to see him as special or try to impress him. She then asked him what comes to his mind when he thinks he's going to die, and when he remembered all his moments with Rue since they met, he told her that he thinks he loves Rue, which made her feel both frustrated and shocked, but she pretended otherwise and told him that she loves Rue too, and asked him to come talk to her about anything that comes to his mind from now on, especially about love. Sable felt grateful and thought if he could do something for her in return. She asked him to provide her with magical energy in the morning, and when he was about to touch her hand, he remembered what he did to the Wicked Witch in the past, and that he caused her death when he gave her too much energy from magic, so he apologized to Holt and went to meet Zero. Afterward, Rue sat in front of the lake and kept thinking about what she heard during Sable and Holt's conversation, and decided to pretend she didn't hear anything until she was surprised by Holt appearing behind her and telling her that Sable loves her, which made her fall into the lake like a pebble. Then she told Holt that she shouldn't divulge someone's private feelings between the others, and asked her if she would leave after she told her about Sable's feelings for her. And when Rue thought she might do that, Holt begged her not to leave them so as not to break Sable's heart, and she told her that she tried to pretend she didn't hear anything and that she wasn't tired of taking care of them yet, and then their conversation was interrupted by the sound of screaming from afar. On the other hand, Sable went to meet Zero, and when he told her that he had regained his memory, she told him that he had acquired many of his distinctive personality traits because he had lost it in the beginning, as bad memories are a poison that eats a person from the inside, and that he regained his memories after he felt that his life was in danger, which means that he has a desire to live. He told her that his mother asked him not to approach a woman with the same eye color as him. Zero said that their eyes are rather special as she inherited her eyes from her father like her brother, and then she told him that his father is Wizard 13 and started telling him about their story together. Wizard 13 didn't mind doing anything for her even if it would destroy the world, since they were the last remaining members of their father's family. He even planned to give her his son's magic after he was born by mixing his blood with his wife's blood to produce a son with unlimited magic. Sable realized that the pain he had endured in his life was because of her, but at the same time, without her he would not exist exist in this world. He then asked her to tell him more about his father, and she told him that he was logical to the point of cruelty, and even made unforgivable mistakes such as waging war to obtain a wizarding world and sacrificed countless lives as a result. Sable felt he knew what he wanted to be in the future and told her how he felt when he almost gave his magic to Holt, and that he wanted to continue the business of providing magic so that his friends could teach him magic in return. He then asked her to let him practice on her because she wouldn't die even if he failed. Zero gave him both of her hands and offered to let him run the magic between them continuously until he could set the right standard. He then heard Cud screaming from outside, but Zero told him not to let anything disturb his concentration. Zero held his hand and told him that he had to say his entire spell under any circumstances or he would lose many people he could have helped. On the other hand, when Rue and Holt arrived at the scene of the sound, they found the place in chaos as the injured person Rue had brought yesterday stabbed Cud. Triant managed to restrain him, but when Holt ordered him to let go, the boy grabbed a sharp blade and rushed towards them, and Rue stopped him with her wand. They tied him up, thinking that maybe the church had sent him to spy on them or attack them, but then a girl with red hair and eyes appeared and told them that there were many reputable people in the church. Rue realized it was the student known as Heartful. When Rue wondered if she was supposed to be at school, Heartful told them she came to investigate after hearing screams in the distance. Rue thought it might be time to flee the village after the recent troubles, but Heartful told her that the village was expected to be targeted by extremists. She approached Triant and gave him a portion of lunch, then gave the bound boy a portion of food as well, wondering if the church didn't think of the possibility of a young boy like him failing. But Rue knew he was just bait so they could figure out how he would die after he attacked them. Heartful told him it was bad manners to eat while standing. He told her that he was a ruler and would not eliminate his enemies with manners. She told him that others' opinions of him could be a way to protect himself, but he didn't care, as his job was to shed blood and take lives. Holt scolded him and said that his job now was to protect the village, not take lives. Heartful suggested that she take him for a walk around the village, and when he felt that she didn't fear him or worry about him, he tried to test her and pretended to strangle her. Rue put her wand around his neck to prevent him from doing anything foolish, but Heartful knew it was a test of courage. But Rue threatened him that she would finish him off, so he immediately backed down and agreed to go for a ride with Heartful. The guardian monster then joined them and suggested that they torture him to force him to tell them everything, but Cud told him that they intend to send him to the kingdom as soon as he is stabilized and that torture is not a legal procedure, so the guard was forced to remain silent and told them that this kind of work belongs to the priest. And soon Shinpu appeared out of nowhere and almost hit Holt with his weapon. When he realized that the boy was awake, he tried to lunge at him, but Shinpu grabbed his neck and put him back on the bed. The boy wondered if everyone in this village was a monster. Shinpu asked Rue to darken the room so he could take off his blindfold, then asked the boy several questions, told him he didn't have to answer, and warned him not to try to lie. Shinpu was able to get the real answers through the boy's body language and learned that he had been sent with the remnants of the disaster and that the church would not save him if he was caught. Then, put his blindfold back on after he finished questioning him. He then told them that they had gotten little information and concluded that he may have been given false information to mislead them. Rue realized that an important figure in the church was involved with the remnant and that he may have better tricks than that powerless boy, so they decided to delay his transfer to the kingdom while they waited for the church's next move. At that time, Holt was wandering around the village and noticed that the children were having fun somewhere. When she entered, she found that Triant was doing activities with the children, and Heartful joined her and told her that they were making a trap for fishing, as he used to work in a trap workshop in the past. Holt can't stop herself from thinking about the truth about Triant and that he caused her friend's death in the past, so Heartful suggests that she accompany them on their tour around the village with the children. Meanwhile, Cud receives a letter about postponing the boy's transfer to the kingdom and decides to accompany him out of the clinic. When they went out for a walk together, the boy wondered if they intended to get rid of him, and Cud told him that he was not worthy, and he felt angry because he intended to etch his name in death in the village, and then Cud felt angry towards him and told him that he should write his name in history with good deeds, not evil, and the boy said that fighting to remove evil is a good deed. Cud grabs him and asks him what he thinks evil is and what his criteria are. The boy tells him that he thinks evil people are witches and fallen monsters, so he decides to move on without further discussion. After that, they went together to eat the breakfast prepared by Lily and wiped the plates from the deliciousness of the food, and the boy was surprised that Cud eats that kind of food every now and then in Shinpu's absence as he helps Lily to constantly improve her culinary skills. And when the boy asked him why they came, he told him that his opinion of the food was delicious even though he ate it with a fallen monster. The boy is shocked that the food he just ate was made by a mouse, but he doesn't change his opinion of the food. As they leave, she tries to apologize to him, but he tells her it's the best food he's ever eaten, which makes Lily feel happy. When they got back to the clinic, Cud told him to go to sleep and not to think about trying to escape. When he asked him his name, he told him it was Cody, As Kadi lay in his bed, he felt frustrated and sad that he had been deceived by the church into believing that everyone in the village was evil. In the evening, Sable cast the spells that Zero had taught him in front of his companions, and that she had taught him how to control his magic. They were impressed that he could change the shape of his magic, and he began to teach them how to do it. Then he asked Rue to use her wand to do an experiment, and then they were all surprised when he told her out of the blue that he loved her. Rue played dumb and told him that she loved all her students, but he confirmed the information and told her that he wanted to marry her, and Holt asked him to wait a little longer so as not to make it seem scary. Hadi woke up to the sound of village children calling his name after he had a nightmare about his childhood and the thoughts that were instilled in his mind about witches and that they deserved to die. Then Holt entered and asked him to accompany them to the lake to fish. When he found Triant with them and living in peace, he called him a traitor and wondered why they accepted him despite knowing who he was. Cood told him that he and Holt didn't trust him, and Holt said she was a traitor too since she was raised in a church. She then told him that gaining the trust of others is not easy and asked him to promise not to harm those who cannot fight in exchange for not taking his soul, and she considered him to have agreed when he remained silent for a long time while he was suffering from severe pain in his abdomen. The next day, Rue was surprised when she woke up and found Sable in front of her, telling her that he was going to make breakfast. She felt strange that he was closing the distance between them so quickly, and then found him holding a magic potion that he had made from a book he had borrowed from Zero. When she looked at the book, she thought that the author didn't want other wizards to read it. He told her that the author of the book was his father, Wizard 13, and told her that he learned how to make a magic potion that helps boost energy, and that's why he needed her wand. When she gave him her wand, he added some magic to it and found that she had the energy of 2 wizards. Sable was surprised that he had put so much in the wand, so he decided to adjust the ingredients and try different potions. Rue was curious to ask him if he was supposed to love Holt instead of her. He told her that there were many things he liked about her, and when she began to feel embarrassed by his words, she asked him to leave in silence, and when she wanted to go watch Kadi, he told her that they had invited him to accompany them to the lake. At that time, Triant remembered his horrible past, as he was talented in making traps from a young age like his father until he became famous to a tyrant and became working for him and helping him catch criminals and not letting them escape until Shinpu cut off the head of that tyrant and gave Triant the choice between dying or living in torment until he wished to die, which caused him to take many lives and stained his hands with blood since he was young. His memories were interrupted by the sound of a child catching a fish. Heartful joined him and asked her why she had come to the witch's village even though they had ruined her life, and she told him that she would not hate all fishermen because a fisherman had caused the death of one of her family members. Triant thought that she would at least hate the profession that caused the death of her child, but she told him that if she had a child and a hunter killed it, she would want to be a hunter and think of a way to hunt without hurting children. After Heartful left, Holt approached Triant and asked him if he had fallen in love with her, but he told her that seeing someone as strong as her losing control and screaming was exciting for him. Then their conversation was interrupted by the children noticing that Kadi was suffering from something, until Coot arrived just in time, and when Triant noticed this, he shouted at them to get away from him, and Kadi kept walking around like a zombie until his stomach exploded and something like a rose came out of it, but uglier, and he kept saying that he was hungry. Triant rushed towards him and kicked him away, and when he was about to punch him, he was surprised by the appearance of sharp blades on Kadi's back that cut off his hand, so he had to retreat with the others, and Holt tried to hypnotize him using magic, but to no avail, and the strange creatures continued to come out of his body. Triant realized that Kadi was a trap, and that the church had planted the remnants of the disaster in his body and decided to get rid of him while Heartful took care of the children. Holt and Cud felt they were in trouble as they had to use their magic carefully in the absence of Sable. They asked Triant to immobilize him until Holt finishes reciting her spell, or it will be the end of them if he manages to cut her. When they start clashing, he receives several stab wounds in his body and tries to resist to buy time for Holt to finish reciting her spell. Kadi threw him away, and when Holt formed a huge rocky barrier of high height around him, they thought he was sealed inside, but they were surprised that he managed to get out of it easily. So Triant caught him and asked them to finish him before they died, and Holt remembered that she had promised him that they would not cause his death. Cood cut off his tail and gave it to him. Then Kadi stabbed Triant after the remains of a disaster came out of his leg, while Holt activated the full spell and attacked Kadi and succeeded in eliminating him completely. Then Cood used healing magic to heal Triant of all his injuries and restore his severed limbs. After Kadi died, Holt found a group of small remains coming out of his rotting body and approaching them. Triant asked them to run away and leave him as he had lost a lot of blood and would not be able to move, but they refused to abandon him and carried him. But he dropped them to the ground and asked them to lie down. Then Rue appeared out of nowhere and made her wand eat the remains as her lunch, and was able to save their lives in time. After they returned returned to Sable and buried Cadi's body. Holt felt despondent that they were unable to defend themselves and save him, even though they were magicians and were accompanied by a ruler, so Sable blamed himself that he should have accompanied them. Hood said that they would be useless if they relied solely on his ability to boost their magical power all the time. Holt told him that he shouldn't feel bad about what happened. Then the Dragon Conqueror appeared in front of them and informed them that he was tasked with bringing them back to the kingdom because it was only a matter of time before the village became a battlefield. When they went to meet Zero and discussed the matter with her, she told them that she would not allow them to risk their lives on a battlefield. Hud tried to convince her that they would be useful in the event of a battle, but she warned them that they would be dismissed if they didn't follow instructions. Sable decided to stay in the village against the Academy's orders and suggested that if the Academy was victorious, they could rejoin the Academy based on his achievements. He said that the war is a purely defensive battle, and they will need to set traps that do not harm humans, and if they can set 100 traps that disable 10 people each, they will succeed in taking out 1,000 soldiers, and he plans to make this type of trap with his magic potions. Zero was surprised that he was able to make potions that provide magic. He told them that it wasn't finished yet and that he would need his friend's help to finish it. She told him that she would give him a graduation certificate instead of expelling him if he succeeded in using the potions and making traps. Their conversation was interrupted by the entrance of Rue, who told Zero that she would leave the village if she brought the students back to the kingdom and begged her childishly to let her defend the village. So Zero had no choice but to reconsider with Albus. Albus decided to fight a war without any loss of life and to harass and expel the advancing army, telling Hold'em that she would rely on him to distribute the roles and tasks to everyone. Triant, on the other hand, was distracted until he heard Shinpu talk about the irony of having two former rulers of Dia Agnes facing the church in battle, then described him as being more compassionate than he looked when he protected Holt and Cud during the remnant attack, rationalized that he, Hall, was protecting his angel, and headed inside to meet Heartful. Meanwhile, Holt tries Sable's potions and finds that he's been hiding because he's been making potions for them, and they're shocked when he tells them that his father is Wizard 13 and used his book to make the potions. Hud was furious and started to strangle him after realizing why he was getting special treatment from everyone and calling him an effortless bastard, but he told them that he's been working hard lately. On the other hand, Triant was sitting around the children at the orphanage thanking him for saving them. Then Heartful told him that she had to tell the children that Cadi was receiving treatment in a bigger town, and Triant was distracted the whole time, so she offered to tell her what was on his mind, but he warned her that she would regret it if she heard it. When she insisted, he asked her what would make her and the children suffer to the point of crying and screaming. Heartful complained that he admired her and explained that most humans in the village imagine the destruction of something precious to them when they get it, so they find a way to protect it. Triant realizes that she misinterpreted his question as wanting to protect everyone, so he quietly leaves. When he returns to the others, he finds Holt describing him as a mere tool with no will of his own and tells him that she can't stand Heartful. Then she told him that Sable's battle plan relied on his traps, and the fact that a scumbag like Triant could protect people in times of danger caused her to complicate a lot of concepts. She told him that he would suffer for the rest of his life if he still had human emotions and that he would be pathetic. Triant felt as if he was standing in a pool of blood with his hands stained with it and saw the image of Heartful and the children in front of him as if he couldn't suppress his bloodlust. The next day, they all set to work on Sable's plan, setting traps and discussing with his companions about when and how to use magic, while the guardian monster heard Shinpu's conversation and told them that their enemies were a group of weak and peasants numbering about 10,000, and he suspected that the church might aim to force them to eliminate them. When Lily joined them to ask the guard to help her prepare food, Shinpu told her that she would leave the village with the residents and the Dragon Conqueror would take them to Lutra Cathedral, but she refused, saying she wanted to fight alongside them. Shinpu tells Rue that if she leaves it in the village, it will multiply and spread around very quickly, making her wonder if the church's extremists intend to perish with the witches at the same time. He replies that they are not so naive as to spread a plague without preparing a cure first, and that the person who spread them around is the one who knows how to stop them. Meanwhile, Hold'em was discussing with the cavalry commander that they intend to target the fugitives from the village and convince them to join them indirectly. On the other hand, Faria, the head of the medical magic unit, received a request to mobilize her forces. After reading the request, Faria realized that 10,000 people were going to die, so she decided to leave one medic in the kingdom on her behalf and decided to send her assistant Cal with an urgent message to the president of Creon, Torres. At that time, Torres was meeting with Albus and was impressed that they were finally going to go to war against their wizarding oppressors. He told her that he had discovered the source of the remnants and told her that a noble adventurer had hired soldiers to head north but lost half his strength in one day and found the seeds of the remnants in the corpses he was able to bring back. The nobleman then went crying to the church, but the church took the remnant from from him and secretly passed it on to the outliers, meaning there was a chance that more would appear, and then gave her a potion that would help her fight the remnant during the battle. After that, Cal arrived at Torres's palace and gave him Faria's letter, and Albus asked him to head north and summon the leader of the mages, but he feared for his life and told her to ask the dragon conqueror, but she insisted on going and said that the leader would make sure to protect him, then left to return to the academy and tell Zero about the new developments. At that time, Sable was surprised that Laios came with his father to say goodbye to him before leaving the village tomorrow, and promised him to grow up and return as soon as possible, then joined the others to finalize their plan before the battle, and decided to give as much of his magical energy to Zero so that she can protect everyone in case he fails to survive during the battle. And she was surprised that he gave her more than she needed, and she realized that he is stronger than she thought, and told him that he will be known in the future as the Sorcerer of the Abyss. The next day, the time came for the great battle between the extremists of the church and the wizards, and when the extremist soldiers were about to reach the village through the forest, they were surprised when lily rats attacked them and fell into a trap that caused all of their limbs to be amputated. Then healing magic rained down on them like rain to restore their limbs again, but they did not have time to realize what happened until they found fire burning out of nowhere and causing their armor to melt. The commander ordered the soldiers to retreat, as the mages could crush them at will, but they showed mercy. But a group of fallen monsters appeared and bypassed the extremists on their way to the village, led by a huge demon-like monster. At that time, Zero told everyone that the trap plan had succeeded in defeating the 10,000-foot soldiers, and that they were left with a squad of fallen monsters that contained some demon-possessed people among them who were able to use certain magic without limit and without the need to cast spells. It occurs to Shinpu that Lily may not have escaped with the villagers, so he rushes out with the guardian monster. At that time, the band of fallen monsters manages to capture her alive, and their leader decides to take her to the village and devour her in front of them. Shinpu cut off the limbs of the wolf that caught her with his sharp threads, and then ripped the rest of the group in front of the leader, so the leader grabbed her and wondered if keeping her alive or taking her life would make them fight more fiercely, and after he finished his question, Shinpu cut off his hand to release it from his grip, and the leader found that his hand was not regenerating, so he cut off the rest of his arm to neutralize the pain and regenerate it himself. Then one of the monsters tried to surprise Shinpu from behind, but the guardian monster took care of them. But the boss used his abilities to bring his followers back to life and stronger than before, and Lily hid in a tree until Shinpu and the guardian were finished with them. At that time, a group of fallen monsters went on their way to the village, but many of them fell into Trian's traps, and when they saw him standing in front of them, they felt angry at the idea of his betrayal, and then the clash between them began after Sable and his companions joined his side, and they thought they could handle them being only 4 people, but Zero told them that they had made traps beyond their imagination. Then they started shooting magic arrows at the fallen monsters, and they kept falling on their heads like rain, while Zero supervised their performance against the enemies, and they succeeded in taking down quite a few of them. Then they were surprised when the guardian monster and the boss broke into the scene after the fight raged between them, and the guardian was able to gain the advantage in front of him but still couldn't finish him off. When the guardian asked Zero to help him get rid of him, she used her forbidden magic that reached everyone, and the guardian split the boss in half before he retreated to give her the opportunity to focus her attack on him directly, and Zero summoned the dead from the ground to target the boss, and he found himself surrounded by countless corpses that devoured him until he was on top of the corpses that killed him immediately. The others were amazed at her superhuman ability, and she told them that this is what she meant, that a wizard has the power to destroy the world if he chooses to follow the path of evil. After the battle was over and the remaining enemies surrendered, the church army and the wizards arrived with Albus and Torres. After that, they received many important figures to celebrate the peace of the village and its victory in the battle. But soon, Albus noticed the appearance of countless remnants of the disaster coming from the forest towards them, so the wizard leaders used their abilities to fight this huge number of them and burned the forest to the ground. But many remnants managed to survive the fire and began to attack all those who stood in front of them. Bishop Ediamor took the senior members of the church and ran away from the remnants. He told Albus that he had to mobilize a large number of remnants and attack the village because he didn't trust Zero, and offered Torres to join his side so that the remnants wouldn't get him. Albus felt that Ediamor was in trouble after she asked him about the identity of the demon responsible for releasing so many remnants at them, and he couldn't answer her and told him that she knew he was behind it all along. The remnants of the catastrophe reached them and kept jumping around until they completely surrounded Ediamor and started devouring him. And when he was surprised that they had gotten past his protection, it turned out that Rue had used her wand to create a large-scale replica of the remnants of the catastrophe and made it attack everyone to scare them and just want to mess with them. She then approached Idyamor after he was exposed and offered to let him keep his position as bishop in exchange for admitting everything and not resisting. She told him that she knew about him mining his followers with the remnants of the disaster so that they would turn into monsters in the village and start blaming the witches. Idyamor was shocked when she pulled out the ball that was in Kadi's stomach, and it turned out that he had fed it to him to help him turn into a monster when needed, claiming it was a divine blessing, then ordered him to eat it in exchange for sparing his life and forced him to eat it. A few days later, the villagers returned home and began to spread the news that the church had failed to destroy the village despite mobilizing 10,000 soldiers. And when Sable and his companions returned to the academy, they were honored and graduated from the academy as official mages, and Albus gave them their graduation documents. When she wondered why they didn't look happy, they told her that they thought she was testing them, and she felt frustrated that they had lost the ability to trust others. Hold'em told her that she had caused this. Then Holt asked her if she would help them with employment after graduation, and Cud said that he wanted to join the Knights of the Church and Mages, while Sable wanted to do research and studies on magic. After that, they returned to the village to collect their things, and when he went to meet Zero, she gave him his father's book and told him that it was his book from now on, and she said goodbye to all of them, and in the morning they said goodbye to the rest, and Lily gave them some of her special food to eat on the way. Then Sable approached Leos, who looked very sad because he did not fulfill his promise to him that they would go on a trip together one day. Sable told him that he would come back to pick him up when he became a young man. Then the Dragon Slayer drove them to the kingdom again, and on their way they sat thinking about their new job assigned by Albus, where they have to work in the Forbidden Library to collect information about the creatures of the remnants of the disaster. But despite the danger of the work, Sable felt happy to graduate with his friends.